Regent Reese. I'd like to now call on Student Regent Ali Oved.
Thank you. Now, I have a lot of thoughts that I want to share about this item because it's grown to be an emotional one for me. Now, I don't normally write out my statements for Regents meetings, but I wanted to be sure that I capture all the elements that I wanted to share with you all today. I saw this statement as an opportunity to address the incessant hatred and bigotry that exists on our campuses that has only worsened in the past year. However, I must say that the process of developing this language was flawed to its core, and I was extremely disappointed with what this statement has devolved to. I repeatedly asked several individuals in the Office of the President to include me in the development of this language since June, but was met with no response. After informally learning that this item was being written, I had to reach out to the appropriate individual twice to schedule a conference call. Finally, on this call, I was asked to share suggestions, so naturally I did. But then I was told it would be too late to revise. However, exactly 3 days later, I received a completely revised version of this item, excluding my single suggestion. As much as I believed in the spirit of what this proposal aimed to do, I could not support it in its current form. It did not do justice to those whom have been victimized for their identities far too long on our campuses. I want to share a more personal story. Earlier this year, my mother, you all know her, sent me an article detailing the brutal beating of a Jewish woman in Europe who was targeted for prominently displaying the Jewish Star of David. Concerned for my safety, she gently suggested that I remove that same Star of David around my neck. And I did the opposite. And I made it a point to display the necklace I wear. This is the necklace she was referring to. The necklace that I am so proud to wear every single day of my life, the necklace that represents how proud I am to be a Jewish Israeli American. The notion of having to deny my birthright or hide my heritage shocked and repelled me. No one, absolutely no one, should ever be compelled to hide their identity for fear of repercussion. The moment our institution succumbs to these pressures is the same moment we have failed as governors of this institution and this university. The fact still remains, no matter how much of myself I dedicate to the causes that work for the greater good of my people, no matter how much I try to be the best representation of my community's values and traditions, no matter how many olive branches I try to extend, in a world where there are so many hateful and vilified connotations of Israel, Jews, Zionism, politics and stereotypes inevitably erase all my efforts. These kinds of misconceptions tarnish my and my community's efforts to change people's minds about what we are and what we are not. But hate speech, hate crimes, discrimination come in all shapes and sizes, with anti-Semitism being only one ugly example. The diversity of our community creates its intricate tapestry. But the intricacy of that tapestry means nothing if each of its threads does not feel as it's part of the whole. We must work to protect it by protecting each and every thread. There are blatant discrepancies in response time and severity of response by our administration across campus communities, right here and right now. And this discrepancy, unfortunately, builds resentment among student communities and further cements the divide. And we wonder why our campus climate is the way it is today. We need to build the credibility of our administration by establishing a moral consistency that can be applied to all student communities equally. We need to address the hateful invective that surrounds our communities, including those that identify as but are not limited to Jewish, Christian, Muslim, Black, Latino, Chicana, Asian Pacific Islander, Arab, Middle Eastern, Southeast Asian, Southwest Asian, North African, Native, undocumented, LGBTQ, differently abled, and so many more. Political problems and global issues will always find their way onto our campuses, and we should never shrink from discussing them. Productive discourse does not demand that our words be guarded, but it certainly demands our respect. If we truly strive for resolution and results, we cannot allow for such ignorance to perpetuate. We must invest in a process that carves out true discrimination today. It is a process that depends on students to identify key elements that will ultimately lend credibility to the language that we will develop and lend the credibility that it deserves. Student communities need to have the ability to self-define instances of discrimination and intolerance so that we can use these definitions as guides to detect such incidences on our campuses. We cannot cherry-pick elements of a definition to uphold, nor can we disregard a reality of discrimination because it is too difficult to protect. We cannot shy away from calling racism and discrimination for what it is. And we certainly cannot allow political organizations whose motivations do not align with the purpose of this statement to cloud our judgment, and I expect that we won't. With all of that said, I want to share the utmost respect and gratitude to Chair Lozano, Regent Island, Regent Lansing, Regent Pattis, and President Napolitano for redirecting this effort to be an inclusive one that I know will lead to the progress we've been waiting for. I'm very optimistic of the great work we will accomplish together. And I want to end by saying that we choose to tackle this incredibly difficult and sensitive issue not because it is easy, but because it is the right thing to do. Because it is this goal that will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills that it deserves. Because this challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one in which we intend to overcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Oved, for those thoughtful comments. And now